Hello, it is I. I can't see anybody at the moment. This is madness that I am even doing this. So, this is evidence of me being an adult PDA. I am quite unwell at the moment. I have cancelled all my appointments, meetings, consultations for the week, and instead of resting, I have that innate resistance, that determination that even though I'm really sick, I'm not happy about cancelling my appointments, so I have to get on here and do a live. That's so annoying. It's so annoying sometimes to be a PDA. Anyway, I wanted to jump on just for a few minutes and talk about something I've been noticing a lot in the last couple of days, and that is, the way that, society and the media tends to bully people who do things differently. And I was watching one of my favourite programs last night, and I noticed there was a segment on a family who were unschooling, who all slept in the same room, who did things differently, and I guess, they were labelled as radical. And I see that label thrown about really quite half-heartedly and a lot in society, but it seems to be used as something that's negative. And I felt really disappointed. I mean, radical's a great word because it basically means such a change that we are contributing to evolution or, really important or wonderful social change, which I'm really passionate about. For anybody that's just joining now, I sound dead inside because I am a little bit. I'm really sick, but I just really wanted to talk about this. I saw that last night and it really upset me because I saw the responses of people who watched this family and how they called them feral and made assumptions about them not vaccinating their children, and all kinds of really unkind things were said. And, I go into consultation with families so often who are raising children with a PDA autistic profile who might ask, how do I get my child to go to school? And I have difficulties with that, and not around judging families or judging people for wanting their children to go to school. But when we really think about the definition and the way of being for the PDA, seeking support to get them to do things that they aren't doing already is really aligned with working toward changing them. And we know that when we work toward changing somebody with a PDA profile, we're potentially going to feed their anxiety and make them feel even more resistant and make them even more demand avoidant. And I like to work with families to do whatever feels right for them, to support them to do what feels right for them. But there must be a line drawn when we are sending a child to school and they are experiencing so much trauma or struggle, when they are fawning and masking and adapting all day in the school environment, and then coming home and being horrifically aggressive to their siblings or their parents or themselves, where they're completely demand avoidant, don't want to get out of bed, don't want to shower, brush their teeth. Now, all of these things can be a part of a child's profile of behaviour that comes with being a PDA. And PDA fluctuates, and it's a spectrum within itself, and it changes from one day to the next. But when we know that our child is not coping in a particular environment, we must come to a place where we start asking new questions instead of how do we get them to go to school. Because I've even seen some families, some of us have beautiful school environments where educators are very supportive and accommodating, and we've got great ILPs and IEPs, great support staff. We feel like we've almost perfected the environment, and our child might still resist going to school. And I'm going to say this, and I want this to be very, very clear. Our child is not a problem. Our child is not the problem here. Many times there's nobody to blame. Many times the school isn't supportive, and there are very prominent issues with the education system or our children's schools. But sometimes our PDA children cannot go to school because it's not the right environment for them to learn in. PDAs by nature are autodidactic. They're self-led in their learning. They are incidental learners. So they pick things up along the way as they move through life and follow their interests. And many families who make the decision to unschool or to homeschool or whatever it is they choose that's away from a classroom find that their children thrive. But it often takes a really long time because we need that recovery process where their brain has enough time to de-escalate the threat response and trust that we are going to hear their no and we are going to honour what is right for them. And this is a really hard thing for us to do as adults and as parents in 2020, because we come from a long line of conventional parenting and parenting methods around control and authority. And I feel like my children are raising me. I don't feel like I'm raising my children. It's a collaborative process. I'm learning from them what works best for them, what they need. And that's because we've come from a place of trauma and crisis. Many people won't accept that their children may be PDAs because the information they read about PDAs is a child in crisis or a child who has been exposed to prolonged stress, and so they overlook the possibility or the potential of their child being a PDA. I think sometimes it is so important for us to have a really good think about whether we're asking questions that are helpful and supportive. So always being really focused on how do I get my child to go to school, go to the doctors, whatever it is. Perhaps we're not asking the right questions. Instead of, what is it that is creating a resistance for them and stopping them from being able to engage with the things they would like to and the things that they know are good for them? Because PDA isn't just about, not being able to do the things others ask of us. It's about often not being able to do the things we would like to do for ourselves, because the brain is in, super protective mode. It is a hypersensitive neurobiological response to our environment, a heightened overactive, overreactive response to our environment. And the PDA brain often is quite similar to a traumatized brain. So there's such a fragility around how we respond to our children's needs. Anyway, I'm going to stop there. If you'd like to learn more about, I often write pieces and share about my own experience as a PDA, and I do want to finish on this. I promise you, if your child does not survive the classroom, they will still survive. They will still survive. For the first year of my schooling life, I couldn't speak. I couldn't speak. I couldn't look up from the floor. I couldn't look up from the table. I couldn't engage with my work. I would run away. I would hide behind buildings. Nobody would know I was gone because I was so non-existent. And then when we moved to another town, I made friends and I, started to come into myself. But I failed a lot of my schooling years. And at the age of 15, I'd had enough of being put on behavioural modification plans and put into isolation and being punished for not turning up to school when I was exhausted and burnt out. So I left school at 15 and I had no qualifications, I had no motivation, I had no drive, I had nothing. I was exhausted, I was sad, I was desperate, I felt defeated, I felt unloved, I felt unacceptable, I was self-loathing, I was very unwell. And by my 20s, I had 2 university degrees, and by my 30s, a beautiful family, and by my 40s, a beautiful business and a wonderful community of support, and that is all of you. And it hurts my heart so much when adults keep perpetuating these myths around our children not being any good if they don't comply with the education department's institutionalized education, telling our children what to learn, how to learn it, and when. If your child doesn't fit into that system, they can still thrive. They're still amazing. And our children are not the problem. They're really not. They have so much potential for change to show all of us. And it's just such a beautiful thing that it really hurts me to see people so focused on academics and things that just, rob the soul of our PDA children. Anyway, I'm going on tour in May and June with Raylene Dundon, who is a developmental and educational psychologist who has a lot of practice and clinical experience working with families raising PDA children. She'll be talking about the background of PDA, working with PDA children in school settings and home settings. Harry Thompson, my wonderful friend and fellow adult PDA, will be joining us to share his experience as an adult PDA, and I will be talking about my experience as a professional, as an adult PDA, and as the parent of 3 PDAs married to a PDA. Who am I? How am I still here? Anyway, I'd like to apologise to everybody who had booked a consultation with me this week. I'm so sad to cancel because I love connecting with you all. Thank you so much for being here. I really needed to check in just because I won't be around all week. I wanted to check in and say hello. But if you'd like to learn more about our tour and how you can get tickets, I'll put the link in the comments section and you can click on there, and I'd love you to come and see us. There'll be a Q&A, a panel after the presentations. You can ask questions of all kinds, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful week. Toodaloo.